might be thinking their 22 car is going to be a little bit harder to beat. You know, down in the playoffs, you know, maybe I'd rather race the one.
His winning margin was artificial in the aspect that once he beat us, we audibled our strategy.
And people think rubber is grip. Well, I guess kind of, but how it works for us is when the track is just covered in rubber, there's no grip.
You could only run on the beach and they'd be upset. Welcome on to the Backstretch. I'm News 5's Heather Williams, and I know, like, NASCAR's fixed, right? We did it. It's fixed. Fans got what they wanted. They got their 750 horsepower at the short tracks and the road courses, so all the complaining will be over, right? I joke because I know that's not it. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the change. I don't think that more horsepower is ever a bad thing necessarily. And it's going to be expensive. It may not fix the problems, but I'm willing to give it a try. We'll see what happens. That is one of the things that we're going to talk about this week with our expert, Chris Carey. We'll also go over what happened at Charlotte, look forward to this week's race at Las Vegas to start the third round of the playoffs. Not one, but two guests this week on the Backstretch. We have playoff driver Christopher Bell, documented how much I enjoy talking to Christopher every time, and he gives some really good insight, particularly about last week's race at Charlotte at the Roval, and how close or he is or isn't to SVG, how close Kyle Larson is or isn't to SVG based on how they ran this last week, because those two were really the two drivers that were able to get up front and mix it up with SVG. So really, really enjoyed getting his insight on that this week. And also Zane Smith. Love talking to Zane. I've known Zane for a long time. He raced part-time early in his career for the late model team that's based here in Bristol. So always enjoyed catching up with Zane and kind of getting his thoughts on this part of the season from a non-playoff driver, right? You've got Christopher, who's in the playoffs. You've got Zane, that's not in the playoffs. They both have different kind of perspectives on things because of where they are, but really, really good talk. So a lot on the plate. Less of me, more of them. Let's get going. Joining us now is our crew chief, Chris Carey, who is also the crew chief for the number 75 Food Country Truck in the Craftsman Truck Series. Shane Van Gisbergen wins again on the road course, making it 5 straight on the road, tying Jeff Gordon for most road course victories in a row. The field, though, looked like it got a little closer to SVG, but is he approaching maybe all-time greatness when it comes to road course racing?
I would... Heather, I think you have to say that. I mean, I watched Kyle Larson, you know, there with 20, 25 laps to go or whatever it was. Kyle raced him pretty doggone hard, and you could see the tongue hanging out of the number 5 car, trying to keep up with Gisberger, trying to keep him behind him, trying to stay in a position to where he could win the race and challenge Van Gisberger. But it's just like boom, gone by. And, you know, to me, I watched that, and knowing the kind of world-class talent that Kyle Larson is.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, let's face it. This guy's, he's way up there on a very high shelf. Now, maybe he's not having the best of his years, and he's, you know, for them, they're struggling a little bit to stay competitive and win races. But Kyle Larson is on a level that we haven't seen in a while, I think, and he can't even touch Shane Van Gisberger. So I don't know. I hear a lot of talk and a lot of discussion about, you know, what's the guy doing? Why can't they figure out what he's doing with all the telemetry and data and video and this and that and the other? You know, I don't know. The guy is just a natural talent. I'm pretty sure that everybody's thankful there's no more road races this year.
For sure.
And I would like, you know, I wish we could wave a magic wand. You mentioned Jeff Gordon, who I think most people would agree is probably the best up to the Shane Van Gissenberger area, I would give anything if we could wave a magic wand and bring Jeff Gordon at his peak and put them in 2 equal cars and let them run 5 road races against each other, you know, 20-lap match races or
Hey,
something.
let's throw Tony Stewart in there too, just for fun.
Tony Stewart would be a great one, and there's others. Now there's others. You know, going back to more my time, you know, I like to throw Ricky Rudd in there. Man,
yeah.
he was good, especially at his time when not many people tried to be expert road racers. I didn't feel like there was really that much need to do that. But he did it, and he was ahead of his time. So
it also would be fun maybe to throw in like a Boris said in a next-gen car. Because I think one of the things that is an advantage for SVG when it comes to road racing is that this is more of a spec type car, like the Australian supercars, like what a Boris said was used to running, less stock car. So I think it might make a Boris said a little closer to him.
I think it would, and the guys like Boris said at his time, Ron Fellows was another one, some others, I'm leaving some out, but you know, there were some really good road race specialist talent, and he was one of them. But I think we're really privileged to be able to watch this unfolding. And also keep in mind, there's a young kid named Connor Zilish, who's going to be in Cup next year. Maybe a little early, but you know, they think it's the right thing to do, and I know he's up for the challenge. I think in another 2 years, we're going to be standing here talking about how close those two are and how many epic races they have.
I mean, they're pretty close to the Xfinity Series right now. When
yes, they are.
When
yes,
SVG goes back and runs Xfinity cars, they're pretty darn close.
Pretty darn close, and they have epic battles, and I think we're going to get to enjoy some of those in the coming 2 or 3 or 5 years, however long it lasts. And you know, again, another thing it's going to happen is some of these younger kids, they're all kids compared to me, but younger kids back that are coming up, they're going to see this, and it's going to make them concentrate more on their craft as road
Well, it's already
racers.
upped everybody else's game. You can see the difference in like a Christopher Bell. He was up there for a while. It's upped his game, you know, and he's always been a good road racer, but he's had to up his game. AJ Allmendinger, the aforementioned Mr. Larson, I mean, they've all had to up their game on the road courses. It's
changed their thinking, and I'm thinking about 3 or 4 years down the road. You know, there's a young man in the truck series, Brent Cruz, who's a very good road racer, very good, very young, very talented. God, that's just a name out of the, that's just a name out of the bushes right there. But I think it's going to make upcoming drivers give more time, more preparation, more thought, you know, more effort to becoming a really, really good road racer. I'm assuming that NASCAR is going to keep this trend going to having a good number of road races on the schedules, all 3 series, all 4 series, even with ARCA. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see. I think for people who like road racing, I think the future's pretty bright. You know, I think we're going to see some good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's entertaining to me. I love it.
Yeah,
At the end of the race, Ross Chastain and Denny Hamlin made some contact. Actually, Ross made the attack. Denny was just the recipient of it. Ross tried to race his way into the next round. What I want to talk about, though, is Hamlin's comments afterwards, where he kind of alluded, and then on his podcast basically came out and said that if he had been aware that Ross needed that spot to beat Joey Logano and keep Joey out of the round of 8, he probably would have given it to him, which has sparked a lot of conversations about race manipulation. So when is it race manipulation and when is it strategy? Because Denny's basically like, you know, if you let Joey into this next round, I mean, he's pretty lethal from here on out.
Yeah, you know, to me, something of that nature, if that would have happened, okay, if Denny would have known, okay, this is the spot, it's going to make a difference between the 1 car gets in or the 22 car gets in, and he might be thinking their 22 car is going to be a little bit harder to beat, you know, down in the playoffs. You know, maybe I'd rather race the 1. Okay, maybe that's right or wrong, but if that's his judgment, and he says, you know what, I'm just going to ride behind old Ross right here. To me, I don't see how NASCAR can police that. I mean, come on. Now, we're going to start being mind readers pretty soon. We're going to use artificial information to be artificial judgment and artificial knowledge. And then pretty soon, I don't know what we're going to go into, space age stuff or something. But when he came up on Ross, it was pretty evident that his car was a good bit faster.
Right.
And you know, he didn't force the issue for a while. And I started thinking to myself, I said, he might just ride behind him. And I think then it got to a point to where, okay, if I ride behind him too long, there's going to be 3 or 4 past me, and I'm going to lose some spots. So he just kind of went on, and it wasn't hard to get around him because Ross was on much older tires. But Heather, now if there's planned stuff and there's like, you need to block this guy in the pits, or you need to make sure he doesn't, you know, make sure you block him on the racetrack, or you know, try to, that's different. I think that is manipulation. But if a guy's riding in his car and he's like, you know what, it might be better off for me just to sit back here and ride. What are you going to do? Hold a gun to him?
Right.
I mean, I just don't. I think we're way over the top about that. I think people are, you know, thinking about things that really we can't police, and we can't make people feel a certain way.
Well, all of this changed, right, when Clint Boyer got his itchy arm, you know, and that really kind of changed, like, because before then, drivers were pretty open about, I'm going to help my teammate, I'm going to give him the spot, I'm going to push him, I'm going to do whatever. Now we got code words and people, you know, afraid to say stuff, and pre-race meetings where we talk about X or Y or Z. I just don't know where the line is. Like, it just seems a really fine line between, you know, Clint Boyer's itchy arm and what happened this weekend or didn't happen this weekend.
I think it's going to be a case-by-case type thing, and I think NASCAR is going to have to be really careful with this. I guess to me, the difference in those situations that what we had this past weekend is Denny Hamlin is sitting in the car himself. Now, if his crew chief had been in his ear, or his spotter been in his ear, or somebody saying, hey, don't race the one, just ride behind him, it's going to be better off for us in the points, then I would get to be, I would get to be a little bit concerned if I was on NASCAR's part. But again, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
I mean, are you going to penalize the guy $50,000 and 100 points or something for not passing somebody? I don't know. I don't know how much they can control. I mean, I'm sorry, this not to my liking, but this sport is now controlled by race companies.
Yeah.
It's not race teams, it's race companies.
And really, I think it's the OEMs. I
think it's all about the OEMs too. The race companies are sort of defined by their car manufacturer, and they have to, there's so much comes from help in so many ways from the car manufacturer. They have a lot of power, and of course they want their cars to be in the playoffs, win the races, and win a championship. They sell more cars that way. They represent their brand better. So I just think a lot of this is razor sharp barbed wire to walk on. I don't envy NASCAR's spot in this of trying, but I think a lot of times, I think mostly they just need to take the thing and say, look, we can't control everything. We can't control how people think or how they feel or who they like or don't like, if that comes down to it. If there's planning and if there's really things that really hurt the racing, like intentionally blocking somebody in the pits, or intentionally blocking them on a restart, or doing something that's not racing, then yeah, I think they probably could step in, and the situations we talked about with the Clint Boyer deal, the Michael Waltrip team and everything in the past, I think they stepped in, I think they handled it, I think they set a precedent. The Denny Hamlin thing this past weekend, just over a comment he made, you know, come on, let's talk about the race.
All right, well, let's talk about this.
Let's talk about that.
NASCAR had announced that they are upping the horsepower to 750 horsepower at the short tracks and the road courses. Do you like this?
I think it's a good move. I think that there's been, looking at it from their side, I think that there's been so much talk, so much commentary about it from drivers, from crew chiefs, from teams, from media, from fans, from everybody that like, okay, this is going to help fix these races to be better.
But will it? Is going from 670 to 750, will that make a huge difference? I don't
know if 100 horsepower will fix it. I like the comments I heard from NASCAR. I think it was Steve Phelps that was talking about that you know, they had to look at this too. They had to factor in about what this rule change would cost. Now, I feel like they can make the change that they've decided on for now. If it's 650 to 750 or whatever it is, they can do that. They have talked to the engine builders. They've talked to the teams. They've talked to the people that are in the know that this can be done and it won't be a big financial burden. The teams know that they can, by doing this, that they can find the horsepower fairly easily, and they feel like that it won't be a deterrent to the engine's life or durability. And I heard him say, now we can't, you know, we can't go to say 1,000 horsepower, because what's going to happen is things are going to start breaking in those engines, and you're going to have, and it's going to be more expensive, and this is going to be more, and then pretty soon you're millions of dollars into it, and the owners are going to say, what are y'all crazy? What are you doing, trying to do? You're trying to bankrupt me. So I think they're taking the approach that they have to take. It's probably enough, Heather, it's probably enough to where it's at least going to be, it's going to tell them if this step is in the positive direction. I think it will be. Is it going to fix it to everybody's satisfaction? Probably not.
Well, because I don't think you can make NASCAR fans happy at this point.
No, there's people out there you couldn't make happy, you know, how much horsepower or what.
Yeah. We could only run on the beach and they'd be upset.
That's right.
This week, the third round of the playoffs opened in Las Vegas. What should we be watching for in this race?
Well, Las Vegas is a fast place. Out there in the desert, you know, the track gets, it's pretty bumpy. The track changes with temperature a lot and how much sunshine and so on, which usually there's a lot of sunshine on the thing. But, you know, this Las Vegas seems to be a place where there's always some type of action, some type of events that go on that carry, I guess, ramifications for different people. And there's a lot of people with a lot to gain or lose here. And it seems like it's kind of hard to predict which teams are going to be the cat's meow.
All right, so I'm going to put you on the spot, though.
Okay.
Which 4 teams make the Final Four?
Oh, boy.
Of the 8 we have.
Oh, boy.
I'll give you mine first if you want.
Okay.
I got Ryan Blaney, I got Denny Hamlin, I got Christopher Bell, and I got Joey Logano. That leaves out the 3 Hendrick teams and Chase Briscoe out. I think Hamlin and Bell make it. I think one of the Penske cars make it, and I think one Hendrick car will make it. And I would have to put my money lightly on Kyle Larson. On Larson.
And
over Byron
with William Byron snapping at his heels. And I tell you, I like William Byron because I like how he and his crew chief, Rudy Fugle, handle these type situations. And he's capable of winning a race anywhere he goes. Now, you can say that, again, Joe Logano is the same thing. His crew chief, Paul Wolfe, who I think did a fantastic job with the call he made that I believe got them in the playoffs by changing tires, and a lot of people thought, I don't know if this is good or not, but I feel like that's what made the difference between them making the playoffs and probably not making the playoffs. Those guys, the one thing about Paul Wolfe and Rudy Fugle, people like that, they're not afraid to make a mistake. They're not scared to make a decision that 90% of people would say, this guy's an idiot. What's he doing? They're not afraid of that. And the thing is that most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, those decisions that they make will come out positive for them. And in these type situations, those are the guys that are going to be successful when there's no clear winner. there's no clear way that you say, oh, this guy's going to make the playoffs because they're going to do this, or vice versa. They will find the way, they will find the strategy, they will find the decisions and choices that will put them over the hump, at least to get them to the next round. And then the next round, of course, is one race, and somebody's going to win the championship that race. So,
If there's a Penske car, it's going to be a Penske car, but
it probably will, and because, well, I just talked about Joey Logano and Paul Wolfe. Ryan Blaney is a very talented driver. He's very capable of winning anywhere, and there's a young man that his Jonathan Hassler. That is a very young man. I remember him being there when I was there. He was green as a gourd, and very bright, but very young, taking a lot in. And that young man has stepped up, and he's a very good young man. He's very intelligent. He's wrapped in a lot of stuff, and he's very successful. He's going to win a lot of races and probably championships for a long time because he's a lot younger than me.
on to the next round of the playoffs. I know the first round was great for you guys at JGR, especially for you. You won at Bristol. How would you evaluate the second round of the playoffs?
The second round was good enough. It was good enough. I thought we had a couple really good opportunities. Kansas was certainly it was a tough one, and we ran really well. So I take a lot of positivity out of Kansas, especially going into Vegas. I think that'll relate. Charlotte Road Course, that 88 isn't in the field. I think it's a much better day for me. But that darn guy, man, he's just so fast. So, and then Loudon was disappointing. Loudon, we got out of there with a good points day, but certainly it's one of my best racetracks, and we obviously were hoping for more there in Loudon. So yeah, the round was good enough, but certainly moving forward into the round of 8, we know that we're going to have to be better.
You mentioned the Roval at SVG. I know he ended up winning by like 12 seconds or whatever, but at times you and the 5 were up there mixing it up with him. Do you feel like maybe you've closed the gap a little bit on the 88?
It's tough to say. I mean, each road course is a little bit different. His winning margin was artificial in the aspect that once he beat us, we audibled our strategy and took another pit stop to try and better ourselves if the yellow flag were to come out. So, he wouldn't have beat us by that bad if we were on the same strategy. But once he got the lead and it was clear nobody was going to pass him, we made an extra pit stop to try and be on offense and have some newer tires if the yellow flag were to come out. So, I think Charlotte showcased a little bit different than other road courses in the aspect that he beat us by long run pace. And on the short side, Larson, myself, even AJ Allmendinger was really fast. Chris Buescher had pace at times. So there were a couple guys that could run with him, on newer tires. And then as the tires degrade, our cars and us, the drivers, just continue to lose lap time and lose pace, and he's just able to continue going strong. So I don't know if we got closer or not, but it certainly was a little bit different than the previous road courses.
Looking forward to the next round. You mentioned Vegas, Talladega, and Martinsville. Some really good tracks in there for you. How do you approach this next round? You said you have to run better. Are you looking at one of those tracks or all of those tracks as potential places to win to advance?
Well, I mean, Vegas has been the one that's got away the last couple of years. So, it's been a close track for us going to victory lane, especially in this fall playoff race. And it would be a really big deal to win and lock yourself into Phoenix. So we're definitely going there guns a-blazing and trying to, do everything that we can to go out there and win. And we know that Vegas is probably our best shot to win. Talladega, you never know. I mean, I could win Talladega, but so could 30 other guys. And then Martinsville has been very hit or miss for us over the past couple of years. So Vegas is definitely our strength in this round.
I was going to ask you about Martinsville. I feel like you guys have either been on top of the world or kind of in the dumps at Martinsville. As a cutoff race, how do you feel about that for you and your team?
It's scary. I mean, Martinsville is just, I don't know. It seems like it seems like it is feast or famine for a lot of guys. And if you qualify bad, it's just extremely tough to make your way to the front. It's very easy to go a lap down, which has happened to me, multiple times. And last year, ultimately, we were able to make something out of it after qualifying bad, and had some strategy go our way, got some stage points at the end of stage two. And then we had a pit stop mishap that put us to the rear of the field to start stage three, and really derailed the end of the day. So yeah, I mean, Martinsville is it's a tough race. It's very it's a long race. 500 laps at Martinsville is one of the longest races that we have of the year. So it's a tough place, and it's a tough race.
Final question. You mentioned this week, Vegas. You like that track. You think it's your best chance to win. What is it about that track that makes it so good for you? What do you like about that place?
I mean, certainly our cars are amazing there, and I would say that this is probably one of the top times in my career going to an intermediate with the best cars that we've had in my career so far. So I don't know. I guess I like it because we've done well there. It's a track that the cream rises to the top most of the time, and it's a place where you can separate yourself from the field.
The Roval, what was this past weekend like for you?
Yeah, just not a great weekend for us. We showed great speed in practice, and then qualifying just lacked a little bit through the infield area, and then going to the race, we kind of had this strategy with how much fall off there really was. It was kind of worth us and a few others did as well to try to save a set of tires in that first stage and run the whole thing out on one set, which was crazy. And when I originally heard that we were going to do that, I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be tough. And but fortunately, we were able to run out that whole first stage and kind of take your hits early in the race, and then that allowed us to save a set of tires for the end of the race in case there was a caution or anything. Um, and unfortunately, there just really wasn't a caution. But if there was, I mean, we would have had a huge advantage there. And so, we're not in the playoffs, wanted to take some risk there and hope for something to happen in our favor. But unfortunately, it didn't. But still, just got out of there mostly unscathed, and yeah, ready to move on to these final four races and some great tracks for us. Vegas is a great one. We qualified good there earlier this year, and then Martinsville's another good one for us, and then Talladega got a pole there and raced well, and then Phoenix have a top 10 as well. So I feel good about ending this year strong.
I wanted to actually ask you something that you touched on because it sparked this question in my mind. You said you were good in practice, and then in qualifying, you missed a little bit in the infield. How hard is it with the level of competition? Because I see a lot of teams that are boom, top of the board at practice, and then qualify 20th.
Yeah, so a lot of times that people will see that is with the metric in our sport. So you see these guys that have to go out first in qualifying, and then the guys that go out last in qualifying. Going out later is always a massive advantage, and that is really magnified at certain places. Like ones that come to mind are Bristol or Richmond is huge, Phoenix big. Um, yeah, I mean Martinsville is crazy with it. Like you will see the whole entire track be just covered in rubber for like the first guy that goes out, and then the guy that's like pretty much last to go out has a super clean racetrack. And people think rubber is grip. Well, I guess kind of, but how it works for us is when the track is just covered in rubber, there's no grip for us, and you're just sliding. And so um, that's the difficult thing, and that's where you get to see people. Momentum is huge in our sport, and when you have a bad week, it could easily fuel another bad week because you go out early in qualifying, and a lot of good runs are made on Saturday. How you practice, how you qualify. Sometimes you don't qualify good, then you're a little behind in the first stage and you're playing catch up, versus if you do qualify good, then you get to kind of be on offense and pit with the front running cars and possibly control when everyone comes to pit road. So that just pays a massive difference. But for us at Coda in that situation, um, man, it was just trying to find a happy medium balance of being good in the infield and being good on the oval. And so, which is, I think everyone fights that. But in practice, I felt pretty good through the infield section for the most part, but through the oval, I was pretty much wrecking everywhere. And so, and then in qualifying, that flip flopped. And yeah, it's trying to find a happy medium. Our sport is measured in tenths of a second and tenths of an adjustment. And so, trying to find that happy medium in everything is everything.
You also said something else that sparked a question, which is, you're not in the playoffs, so you got to take some chances. I know everybody wants to be in the playoffs, so I'll qualify with that.
Yeah.
But how much freedom does that give you, not being in the playoffs, to do some wild things, to maybe change the strategy up, to get a win, or to make other people change strategy with you? How much freedom does that give you?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, it does. The thing is pretty much just right before the playoffs start, you typically know if you're in a must win or not. So you're kind of doing that from the get-go. Just these races are so dang hard to win. So even when you are on offense in that way, there's a lot of others that are on in the same boat as you, that may do, have a faster pit stop or have a better restart, or just some strategy works out where a caution falls in a better way. So we just haven't found where every single thing works out for us yet. And typically when that does, you have a great result. But man, you see oftentimes now, I feel like just with how close this field is when you are scoring great stage points, you're often in position to win the race as well. And for us to kind of experience that at Bristol went a long way for our group. Got a lot of stage points that night, and that was a lot of chaos that night as well. So yeah, to have that went a long way. But and I had a shot at it. But there's been a lot of races this year where I've been in a great position with. I'm the first one on 4 tires, restarting inside the top 10 with, I don't know, 5 to 7 laps to go, and I get wrecked. And so that's the unfortunate, frustrating part. But um, the good thing about our sport is you get to go try again next week.
You have been consistently the top car from front row, like finishes and qualifying and that kind of stuff. How good has this return to front row been for you personally?
Yeah, it's been great. I love my whole team, and they're a ton of fun to work with. But it's just a lot of talented people on the 38 car, and so they all, I feel like, are getting closer and closer to that win, and that's just making them hungrier and hungrier, and that's good for me. And so just keeping them fired up, kind of going back to our Bristol run and those top 10 runs, those, yeah, just go a long way for our team. And then the runs, I have gone asked a lot so far this year of where, man, I'm thinking back in August, I was wrecked so many times, where we were, like I was saying, in a great position to capitalize on a top 10, top 5, possibly a race win kind of day. And yeah, you get wrecked, and I get asked, like, man, how do you keep them like fired up and ready to go? And I'm like, man, that I kind of just said it. Like, we were competing for a great result, and it gets taken away for us. So it makes you mad and hungry to go succeed. Now, if I was in 35th and that happened, I would probably be telling another story. But yeah, just it's been a lot of fun with the speed that we've had, and working with some familiar partners, new partners, and yeah, just trying to get some more success on the cup side.
Final question. This week, Vegas, you mentioned it's a good track for you. What is it about that track, and what do you guys have to do to, maybe break that bad luck streak and, top 10, maybe even compete for a win?
Yeah, just for me with Vegas, that was kind of like my home track. I grew up racing right outside turns 1 and 2 at the short track called the Bull Ring. I raced there pretty much every single weekend when Irwindale was kind of like shutting down, and we were kind of racing there, but the Bull Ring is open every weekend. So I was racing there all the time, and then from a racetrack standpoint, I just love the high speed mile and a halfs where you have an opportunity to kind of move around and search for grip, search for different lanes. And then man, Vegas is just an awesome place to win at, you know, like it's just obviously a fun town. And I feel like everyone wants to win there and have a good result. But I feel good about what we'll have in our car for this weekend. I think I qualified ninth there earlier in the year, which is good for us. And race well early in the race is just that final bit of the stage. Our cars seem to just fall off a little bit more than others. So we've put some attention on detail to that, and yeah, hopefully it works out. And yeah, hopefully you just kind of had track position towards the end of the race, and you have an opportunity to execute on one of those crazy restarts.
For my final thought this week, real quickly, I want to talk about Charlotte Oval versus Charlotte Roval. A lot of conversation over the last few weeks of whether or not the Roval has kind of worn out its usefulness. I personally love the kind of monster mashy vibe of the oval where you have to be able to balance this really finicky stock car on the oval and on the street on the road course in the middle of the track. I also love it from the perspective of if somebody wants to go see a road course and actually see the whole course, you can do that at Charlotte. A lot of road courses, you're just looking at a very small part of the course because of how spread out it is. At Charlotte, you can see the whole thing, which I think is really cool. I do understand why people want to go back to the oval. The oval racing right now on the mile and a halfs is phenomenal in the next gen car. But I don't think it necessarily has to come at Charlotte, right? There are still tracks that are not being used. Like you could add a Kentucky. We're adding back Chicagoland. Like there are other ovals, mile and a half ovals out there that you can go to without having to take away the Charlotte Roval. It's like the old commercial for Reese's. Chocolate, peanut butter, why not both? Oval, Roval, why not both? I mean, I think that there is room for both of those. If you feel like there's too many road courses, maybe one of the more traditional road courses goes away. I don't see any of that happening. I think about 5 road courses, including the Rovals, where we will kind of be for a while. And I like it. I really enjoyed the Roval. I thought it was a great race this week. I know a lot of people don't necessarily agree with me, and that's okay. But I think just based on what I know, the Roval is probably going to be around for a while. Thanks for joining us on the Backstretch. We'll see you next week.